2 times it didn't work, maybe third time is the charm. We have the Protoss player to the bottom right of the map, Newkirk. It is the third map. TaeJa is up 2-0. And here to the bottom right, we have the Protoss. It is Sun. And his opponent, the current champion, the ASUS ROG champion 2012. He is starting at the bottom left. It is for Team Liquid.net, TaeJa.
And the really scary thing here is that Sound played pretty much exactly the same way the previous 2 games. He wasn't looking to try and figure something new out for the last game or trying to change something up and find a weakness in TaeJa's plays. He was just kind of sitting back and doing his own thing. And it really, really isn't working. Very
different from what we've seen TaeJa do when he was going up against Alicia. You could really see that in the first games, TaeJa was struggling a lot against this style.
Oh, yeah.
And it looked like Alicia was invincible in this matchup. It really looked like his defense didn't have a single dent. But then suddenly TaeJa came up with these small variations that gave him a win in game number 4. And then going into the 5th game, you could really see that TaeJa completely figured out the style of Alicia, always relying on the same build order and just exploiting that without mercy, taking the victory and beating down Alicia, going into the finals. And San, he has a lot of problems really adjusting to this style that we have out of TaeJa. So big problem for him here, and I don't know what he should do to come back. Definitely not what he did in game number 1 and 2.
Yeah, not just taking the victory, but TaeJa came back to make Alicia look kind of silly and easy in the 4th and 5th game after Alicia looked absolutely amazing in the first few. So he saw everything that was happening. He completely figured out a way to counter it on the fly. Whereas here, San is just kind of sitting back and playing his own game. And that works when he takes control of the game and he can dictate the pace of it as he does in the PvZ. But his PvT so far looks very passive. And when passive doesn't work, then you really have to change something up because there's no way you can make that work.
Alicia is just getting all this momentum when he starts with his own build, when he's not disturbed at all. And once he has the composition that he really needs and desires, he moves into the aggression. And that's something that San was never really able to stop. In both of these games, we had just one fight that ended badly for San, and suddenly TaeJa was moving in with everything that he had and steamrolled his opponent. So in this game, we have once again a little bit of a different build here for TaeJa. He's not relying on the same structure opening that we saw in the game number 2. He's going for an early gas this time. And we might see a lot of aggression out of him, but it looks more like we are going to see the reactor into expand.
That does seem to be his go-to, and right now it doesn't feel like he has any reason to risk anything. It's always good to mix it up. It's always good to keep your opponent off guard, but when you're winning games that easily, it's not good to take big risks because it's just unnecessary, and you'd rather not give him a game for free on accident.
Yeah.
And on the other side of things, it is a very fast Nexus for San again.
Which is actually quite interesting because we didn't see any scouting from him. He tried to get that probe into his opponent's base, but he was caught on with the Marine before he even entered the ramp. So he does not know about the barracks. He didn't even see the reactor. He didn't see the SCV that was on a low ground. So he has no information whatsoever. And that's the worst position that you can possibly be in as a Protoss player. You have to play blind. You have to make decisions without actually knowing if you can risk that.
Yeah, his only saving grace is the Mothership Core, which gives him the Planetary Nexus, allows you to defend pretty much everything, and he has that flying out to try and get some kind of scouting information. TaeJa's ready for that. He has Marines all along the right side of his base. He's going to deny that pretty much immediately. So San is going to be kept in the dark for as long as possible. And it looks like TaeJa is probably going up for a very quick Widow Mine drop. Starport coming down. His factory has completed. And there goes the Widow Mine. So this has been one of his go-to builds, if not probably his most common build.
It's one of the builds that we've seen against Alicia with a really good hit at the natural, taking down 11 of those probes. The Mothership Core is really trying to hug the high ground here, making it work for now, but he can't get into the base and really see anything. Gets a little bit of a glimpse, but that's about it. So right now, he really doesn't know completely what's going on. Well, he saw at least the starport, so I feel he can assume that we are going to see a potential Widow Mine drop of his opponent, and he already goes into the robotics, which is of course something that he did in the previous games too. And with the Forge that is coming up now, it looks like very much the build that we've seen in game number 1 and number 2 without any adjustments.
Yep, no variations at all thus far. This is exactly how he opened in the previous 2 games. He did get enough information that he should know it's a Widow Mine drop, given how often TaeJa actually does that build. He should really know that's coming. But it's not a big deal if you defend that. This is kind of just TaeJa's way of taking control of the game and making sure he has some presence on the map and that San can't be too greedy. because behind this he's just building up and going into the mid game regardless of what happens.
+1 armor upgrade once again started, trying to make that work. The cannons here, of course, a really nice touch, especially against a potential Widow Mine drop. You have that extra detection in your mineral line, and you make sure that the Widow Mine does not get the hit off against the economy. It's one of the worst things that can happen to you. Those guys cluster up. Now we have the Medivac just trying to move in here at the bottom, and the Observer might actually just miss that. The Stalker's also not in a position where they can intercept it.
It does indeed miss it, and the Stalkers are way too high up. They're not covering the mineral line. That's because in most games, TaeJa actually goes to get the Widow Mine on top of the ramp, but this time he's going straight into the mineral line.
Double Widow Mine burrowing here. The Stalkers on the way. Nice, leaving just one probe over there, targeting the cooldown, and immediately now moving out. Not doing too much damage, taking down 3 Harvesters in total, actually 2. Disregarding the scout that we saw being killed earlier. But still, TaeJa now with a presence at his opponent's base and definitely pressuring him quite a bit.
And it did cost him essentially nothing. He wants that medevac, he wants those Marines anyway, and the mines can be very useful just for area control and scouting and whatnot. So this hasn't cost him anything as long as he doesn't lose that medevac. He just got a couple of free probe kills and disrupted the mining for it.
Twilight Council completed by now for San. We have him with charge immediately, and also something that has been spotted by TaeJa here thanks to that one medivac. He just speed boosts into the natural, sees the cannon, decides that it's time to turn around.
He does indeed, and there's a probe patrolling around in front of the base, wondering if TaeJa might be going for some sort of all-in behind this medevac drop, but that's clearly not the case. TaeJa just building up again. His third CC has started. Not nearly as fast as it was in the previous game, but still reasonably quick. Not going a very heavy 2-base play by any means. Actually getting a turret down as well, despite having pretty full scouting information. To me, that really says that TaeJa's feeling very confident here. He just wants to make sure that nothing silly happens early on. Just get himself into that macro game.
He saw the Twilight Council, and he knows that it's probably going to be for a Templar Archive again, which indeed it is, but there's always the off chance that there is going to be another Dark Shrine, something that San has already shown in this matchup. So he just decides that one missile turret, that this is an investment that will pay off for him, and as you already said, he's very confident he can go into the mid game, even with kind of wasting those resources. Might actually come into play if one of those observers heads straight to the natural and is taken out by it. He saw the War Prism here for a second, and now we also have the drop moving in once again. It's the same medivac from before. Needs to be careful though, and okay, only going here to the third base, trying to drop that Widow Mine to make sure that he knows when exactly the Protoss player is going to take it, and maybe even be able to take down the Pro before it happens.
Yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't put it a little bit further forward to snipe that Pro before it actually is able to drop the Nexus, delay that expansion by a little bit. But he may be looking more for a shot on the probes as they transfer over once the Nexus has completed. And another medevac swinging out up around top, and Sand has pretty good map vision, pretty good coverage, but it looks like that one will escape his sight.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm really a little bit afraid of is that TaeJa is once again gathering this momentum and just this confidence that he already had in game number 1 and 2. He's taking a bit of a supply lead. He's now heading into the double upgrades, not only with the armory being in production, but also the engineering bait. And this just looks very similar to the games that we've seen so far. TaeJa hasn't really done any damage, but San certainly hasn't pressured him, and that didn't turn out too well in the last few games.
No, and San is actually playing pretty much identical still. He has the Immortals coming out, he is giving up Templar Tech, and he's putting down that third base at a reasonable time. Not too early, not too late. And that would be okay, but that means that he really has to make the most of the units he has, and those Immortals, I still really don't like those Immortals. They don't seem to be effectual at all for him in these fights.
Well, we have now the Ghost Academy also being built, so he immediately reacts to the Templar tech that we see for San. It's going to take a bit of time for him, of course, to get those Ghosts out, but the double upgrades now started for TaeJa. He is ahead in economy thanks to his 3 bases, the faster mineral line. The warp in the main immediately taken out. Those Zealots didn't do a thing, and the Viking might not be able to take down the Warp Prism, but at least pressuring it enough to, for now, force it to retreat.
Taking some hit points off it, and actually he may catch it. He is still catching up to it and doing some damage. But no, it does look like it'll get away. But doing a lot of damage to that makes it much more risky for it to run around the map in the future. And those Zealots, as you said, did absolutely no damage. Didn't even get a single SCV kill. And TaeJa's moving out. He's looking for an attack here. Storm is on the field for San, so he has to be very careful about the way he splits his units here. And there was a potential big storm, though. He does catch the Templar.
Nearly a 20 supply lead in army currently for TaeJa. He's just waiting for this attack to happen. He's pressuring his opponent a little bit, forcing also the Guardian shield off. There's a good observer at the front with a scout. TaeJa could take it out, but I don't think he really saw that. We have the robotic spray coming up for San. He wants those Colossi out. He wants to get them, trying to just force TaeJa back with another storm. Hits a few of the Marines. +3 attack has been started, and now he even needs to kill his own pylon since the Archon was trapped. Definitely needs to slim down a little bit.
I believe there are still 3 Templar on the field, but only potentially 2 storms ready to go. And that was a good storm. That was much better than the previous ones we've seen, and that is going to force TaeJa back. He can't really engage into that anymore, not with the Planetary Nexus up. But still, he hasn't lost too much, and he's just kind of putting some pressure on San, making him waste units, waste mana. And
I don't
he's
really
not really
think that he
costing
wants
much.
to engage here. He just
No.
wants to pressure him a little bit, and as you said, just force that energy out. Oh, but the
could
medivacs
be
here are
scary,
very
though.
much imposed. Does he have anything in the main base that he could use? Yes, he does. He can go for the feedback. And where is it? He goes for a storm instead.
And charging in here after the Colossus, and that looks like it will fall down. No support units at all to protect it. Those Stalkers aren't going to do anything.
There were
However-
3 Stalkers, and they didn't snipe a single medivac. All those units in the main base, and he can still go back. Why the storm? I mean, there was not enough energy on the medivacs to really kill them right out, but I feel that he could have done a little bit more if he just feedback those medivacs and focus them down with the Stalkers. The storm did more damage to his own units than anything else.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like, I guess he wanted to storm the units as they dropped out of the medivacs, but really that doesn't help too much. It's much better to kill off the medivacs. Without the healing, then those units will die anyway, and the medivacs are a much bigger investment. It's much more important to kill them off.
When we look at the resources lost, we see that there's no massive difference, but there is definitely an advantage for TaeJa currently. San lost a lot more resources than his opponent, and TaeJa really calling the shots already in this game. Even building more missile turrets now, being super safe here, and of course building them all to the right side. That might kill that observer that we see here. Well,
It definitely does.
And the War Prism, of course, is also something that San will not be able to rely upon anymore.
Now, San putting down the 4th base, heading up into a macro game, and he does have both Colossus and Templar tech out now. And we know he does have good mechanics. It is getting to the point in the game where strategical options are less important because everyone's already established. Everyone already has all their tools available. So maybe we'll see some amazing storms and some amazing macro from him here. That is entirely possible.
Well, we could see those
But that
storms
Widow
really
Mine is
soon.
done.
Good EMP here, taking down a lot of the shields, and the snipes follow immediately. Great Michael with the ghost this time. TaeJa has really adapted to that style against High Templars. He struggled a bit against Alicia, but against San, this is looking really strong. A potential flank here, a good storm at the front, and those 2 High Templars in the back, they could do a lot here. They are moving in, and this might be exactly what San needs. Where are those storms? Here they are! Oh my god! 2 murderous storms taking down half the army of TaeJa. He drops in supply, and that's exactly the move that San needed in this game.
Those were absolutely amazing storms. We've seen that tactic a couple of times today. That's by far the most successful it has been. The Ninja Templar running around in the back, catching him as he retreats. Absolutely nothing TaeJa could do about that. He was caught between a rock and a hard place, and he lost a lot of units there.
Yeah, he definitely did. Resources lost now in favor of San, and that already tells how much he was able to take down here, given how far behind he was earlier. Upgrade-wise, we have now still the lead a little bit for TaeJa, but San is starting to catch up. He also now has those Colossi in the game. He has only 2. We still have your beloved Immortal as well.
He insists on having those around, and as long as he wins battles, that's fine.
Well, the Immortal has actually 2 kills.
2 kills, that's not too bad. He's kind of pulling his weight. And that Widow Mine is still sitting out there in the middle of the map, and that has killed 2 Templar already, as well as taking the shields off a number of Zealots.
Yep, and another Zealot goes down. How many kills does that thing actually have? 5 in total. That is a quite successful Widow Mine.
Yes, it is. And a Warp Prism falls down to those Vikings, but I believe another one is actually coming out along the bottom of the map right away, but a building will see that immediately.
San is now in a position where he is maxed out, and he's starting to build up this bank. I'm a little bit surprised that we don't see him utilize that forge as much as he would want to. He only has a single forge, by the way. He still didn't add a second one. He's adding a second robotics because he wants to go into the double Colossus production. But in terms of upgrades, he's completely relying on 1 forge and his chrono boosts. And San is really like dodging that Widow Mine. I mean, they're staring at each other. This is a staring contest. The entire 200 supply army of San and a single Widow Mine. And I think the Widow Mine is winning.
Yeah, he definitely seems a little bit more intimidated by the Widow Mine than the Widow Mine is of him. And a double drop coming in, focusing down the 3rd Nexus, but no way he's going to get that.
Yeah,
couple
not
of
this
probe
time.
kills, and he's going to get away for free.
No. Doesn't kill those medivacs, of course, with the little energy that they have, but still can do some damage here and reduce that healing a little bit further.
Running into the fourth base as well, but plenty of defense over there, and a nice Storm actually taking out a lot of units here, and the Can is going to be able to clean up. So Sam looking more and more solid as the game progresses.
And in the meantime, he took down Wally, the Widowine, but not before it also sniped another unit.
And if we look at the armies, it is getting into full-on late-game TVP. Everything now going to come down to the Ghosts against the Templar, as well as the army ratios, how many Vikings you have, how many Colossus you have. And 2 Templar actually caught, but they get off feedbacks and Storms, and he actually wins that battle there.
You know, the thing is that he lost so many High Templars already on the map, but also this allows him to just go into a position where he can then get those really good Storms from the back that he doesn't see. So losing one every now and then is probably something that he definitely can live with. But at this point, we have really the battle still going on. And let's, well, for now, they're actually disengaged.
We've lost there's no video.
I know, but we probably have still the stream online.
So
guys, we'll do our best to actually make that as colorful as possible and tell you what happens here. So I hope that the production will be able to put that up in just a second again. But at this point, we have the +3 attack upgrade started. We have actually San also going into a Stargate here. And we have a few engagements here, not too much. And video is back. Right on time. You didn't miss anything.
That Stargate is actually really interesting. We've cast quite a few TVPs today, and we haven't seen any kind of Stargate play out of anyone. I imagine that's going to be to mix in some Tempest, use that to control positioning battles, maybe some Oracles for Revelation.
Or maybe Sun is just like, you know what, if I go down here, I might as well build a few carriers.
Perhaps.
Well, for now we have the second target actually coming up, and we have the fleet beacon, and TaeJa, he is pressured a lot. San is moving in, and he also has a lot of zealots this time at the fourth phase of his opponent, but the Terran is fighting back right now, getting a couple of really good EMPs off, has to make his way back to his third though, because those zealots are certainly mean business.
They definitely do, and actually the army is just sitting out in the middle of the map for TaeJa. He's not coming back to clean this up, and that's too many zealots to really pick off with reinforcements. He's doing so much damage here. All the SUVs pulled away, a lot of them dead, and actually killing infrastructure, even taking down barracks.
Yeah, another base is already being built for San. He uses the time that he bought himself with those zealots to get another base up and just get another source of income. So that works out really well for him. In total, we have him now going even into the shield upgrades. He's currently on 3-3, same as true for TaeJa. They are maxed out in the upgrades. As Zealot is still attacking, and TaeJa pauses the game. Maybe a bit of a problem here with his controls.
Kind of seems like it looks like he's typing something out. Do we actually have an admin here?
Okay, apparently he has lag problems on his computer. So an admin is already making his way over and checking what exactly is going on here. Well, at this point, just looking a little bit of the statistics that we have here. We have 188 supply for the channel player. We have 182 for Zubu-san. And on the production tab, we have a lot of ghosts still being brought into the game. What San is really trying to do right now, on the other hand, is utilizing his Dark Templars a little bit. He's warping the first ones in. And that is just something that he can add in addition to those zealots that we already see going down on that third base. The third itself is still very much exposed. We have one zealot still trying to take down the command center, which is most likely not going to happen since we have a few ghosts in the vicinity as well. So that would be a surprise. But what we really have is just TaeJa getting another base in the middle of the map, building that planetary right now. So both these players are just getting further up in bases, trying to go for the economy. 24 minutes into the game, there is not really a huge advantage for either one of them.
However, those zealots coming in and killing off that third base, that opens up a big avenue of harassment, because there's now no bunker there. He's going to have to leave units there if he really wants to defend it. So if, as we saw with Alicia, if he just keeps warping in zealots and keeps sending them at that, it's so hard for Terran to actually deal with. And he has almost 5 bases running at this point, so he has plenty of resources. Looks like we are back into the game now.
Back into the game, and the zealot that we talked about is already down. Another one being attacked, the ghost with the cloaking now.
But he has plenty of resources to actually just continually pour in. Actually, the DT, he might, no, but he does drop the mule to repair it and scans to take it out.
That was close, though.
That was surprisingly close. And if he just continues to warp in units and pump them in, and DT's in the 5th base as well.
And Tempest's being built here, so we don't see a carrier memorial built. We actually have Tempest here, which is of course a much more useful unit in this matchup.
And actually going 2-star Tempest, so he will get quite a few out if he wants to. And that'll be pretty interesting. Like I said, we haven't seen that yet today, but more and more zealots coming in all over the map.
Those are pretty beefy units by now with all these upgrades. And oh, wow. Those were good storms, and we had the feedback as well. That was a little bit of a sneaky attack. I certainly didn't expect that to happen, and TaeJa neither.
So many ghosts out here for TaeJa, though. He has to be really careful about direct engagement because his entire army is going to be EMP'd immediately.
Yeah. What we also have are 2 sensor towers by now, so TaeJa knows when exactly San is going to approach. Those sneaky moves with the High Templars, we are not going to see that anymore.
Yeah, those 2 sensor towers, and he also has cleared all of the pylons on his portion of the map, so there's not going to be any warp-ins unless it is DTs running across the map or a warp prism sneaking around into position.
Yeah, San is actually falling a little bit behind in supply now, losing a few of his DTs and all the rest. He wants also to have a bit of supply space so that he can use additional Tempest. Once more, the storms against the bio units, and here comes the Archon.
Now, Archon morphs in panic, knowing that it was going to die, trying to get something out of it. And he might be able to save the little Archon, but no, it does go down. And the first Tempests are now out on the field and continuing out production.
Yep.
Not sure just how many he's going to try and get, because you can't have too many.
Yeah, he has 4 already, and he's getting 2 additional ones. Already heading into the attack upgrades for those bad boys too. Another scan on the Dark Templar. I mean, those scans definitely something that he's forcing out with the DTs, but of course he would love to just sneak into one of those mineral lines and do a little bit more damage. Good storm against those ghosts. They are certainly taking a lot of damage. 23, by the way. 23 ghosts that we currently see in the game.
That is an absurd amount of ghosts, but as you get in the late game, it's actually quite powerful. You use this cloak, they have quite powerful harassment. Of course, the strength of BMP and Snipe, everyone knows about that.
Yeah.
And TaeJa's actually kind of getting pushed back here, but he's trying to just find a good position where he can go in with the ghosts and catch the whole army.
And with 23 ghosts, we have only 1 nuke. Do you actually think they fight a bit of a battle or play tic-tac-toe to find out who exactly is going to be able to use them?
Well, whoever gets to go in and drop the nuke tends to end up dying, so I'm not sure how hard they're actually vying for that
But if
spot.
it works, he's the hero.
He is the hero. He gets an honor burial. That planetary has been healed up, but there is a warp-in station down at the 6 o'clock expansion for I can actually keep forgetting, for San. And his warp-ins thus far have just not been nearly as effective as Alicia's were, but Alicia's were incredibly effective. They actually won him multiple games purely on their own merit. San just not able to apply the continual pressure that was what really allowed him to crack the Terrans before.
San is definitely having a problem with the Widow Mines, by the way. He tried to storm one now, that didn't take it out either, so Widow Mines kind of the bane of his existence in this game at least. And we have actually like TaeJa, now that he identified that he's up against against the Tempest, we have him with 3 additional starports. So he's currently, I think, at 4, or did he build 3 in total? Yeah, 4 starports. So he can get out a lot of Vikings. And this is starting to be a very interesting battle. I haven't seen that in a while. And here we go. Trying to use those storms immediately. The Tempest, of course, with the range, trying to make that work. San is sniping the Mothership core. A few of those High Templars out of energy and therefore useless to San. He's just leaving them behind. The Tempest getting their shots off. Great EMPs against the shields of the Protoss player. And TaeJa is on the move now. We have another High Templar there without the energy. Can't use that storm that he wants to. The Vikings in pursuit, taking down one Colossus after another. And San just barely reaches those cannons. And the High Templar that are being sniped by the ghosts. No mercy from TaeJa. Oh,
no. And 4 Templar go down for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, those were the sneaky ninja Templars that were trying to go in.
These weren't so sneaky, though.
Yeah, we're trying.
And all of the cannons are actually going to go down here. Another big warp in. That's enough to actually take out that planetary if he's not careful. But reinforcements right there for TaeJa, too. So and then this 5th Nexus falls as well. Things are kind of just falling apart for San here.
Yeah, they definitely do. The repair on the planetary fortress, able to force a retreat. The planetary on his own with a scan there, able to take down the DTs. And we have more and more Tempests now coming into play, but against 16 Vikings and more in production, this is starting to look really, really bad for him. Keep that +2 attack upgrade for the Vikings also in mind. That's a lot of burst damage that we have here for the Terran player.
He's really just not utilizing these Tempests, it feels like. Like, the whole point of the Tempest is the range. Use them to pick at your opponent without actually going into a direct engagement and just abuse that range. But instead, he keeps getting engaged on by TaeJa, and in that situation, you'd rather not have the Tempest. There's kind of a waste of supply that would be better spent on Colossus or Templar. So he really needs to set up defensive positions in the middle of the map and pick from the safety of that. But at this point, he's so far behind that TaeJa has the map control that he can prevent that.
Yeah, we have so many Vikings now in the game, and also, of course, those 24 ghosts, they just drop EMPs everywhere. Another EMP hits home, the occasional storm trying to prevent the worst, but it's just a little bit too much. San is ahead a bit in supply and is dropping another great storm this time, but those EMPs are demolishing energy and shields alike, and TaeJa is already ahead one base. He's moving in, taking down another, and there's just no way for San to engage this. He's trying to utilize the range of the Tempest, but it proves to be a little bit too difficult for him to actually handle this.
And his ghosts actually got a little bit brave there, decided they wanted to engage. He lost a few of them for free, but now the rest of his army turns around and San is forced back immediately.
The Vikings are down to 8. He took down a lot, and you would love to have another storm here, but he just doesn't. Here comes TaeJa moving in again, but San doing a lot of damage, demolishing the Terran army, especially those Colossi in the back do so much. Now that the Vikings are gone, San is starting to come back in this game, taking a 25 supply lead. He has to make that work now. He has to go. He has to move in. He is way down in income. He's trying to get those bases. He actually still has one up at the top, and it looks like he's really reluctant to make that engagement happen. He's not even moving in to take down the fourth.
Well, unfortunately, he didn't have, or he lost his observer, and those cloak ghosts were actually taking down a Colossus. However, he does move forward now, and those Colossus just doing so much damage. The Vikings all preoccupied with going out the Tempest while the Colossus killed his entire army. And it looked like TaeJa got a little bit overconfident again there. We've actually seen him do that a few times now.
Yeah, but San really doesn't want to move in, apparently. Well, now he does, trying to push maybe that orbital a little bit more, that planetary, I should say. Moving in again, but all those EMPs and a good engagement here. The Viking count is up again. He's trying to pressure those Colossi. Maybe San a little bit too late. A good storm against the bio. Most of the Vikings gone. 3 are still alive. 6 Tempests in the game. And he has no Colossus anymore. And that was the really dangerous unit for TaeJa's bio force.
It was, but now there's no real answer to these Tempests besides actually just getting enough Marines to run under them and kill them. 7 more Vikings in production, so that once those are out, he will be able to engage and push those back. And they're actually dead even in supply right now. Pretty similar incomes, I would say. If you look at the income tab, it is actually very close right now. So establishing that base up top, San has pulled himself back into this game.
Yeah.
And it's really just a matter of who can hurt the other one next.
San has also rebuilt the base that was earlier sniped, so that was definitely something that comes into play here for him. He is back on a really good income against his opponent, but it is TaeJa who took now the lead in supply. He's once again moving in and trying to do a little bit of damage. Harvest is killed over the course of this game, identical, 23 against 23. And for TaeJa, it's just like he has so many Vikings up already. And what San is building, he's going straight into Colossi, and that is of course a great unit to dish out damage to the bio forces. But if TaeJa is using the entire minerals and also the gas that he's accumulating into Vikings, then those will be in a lot of danger. Even the Tempest should not be able to keep those alive for too long.
Yeah, without Templar, he can actually just produce pure Vikings. Although it looks like he's actually scared to engage here, and that this new base for TaeJa is going to go down right now.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much damage done. I cannot believe that he leaves that alive.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a blunder, and he realizes it now and tries to go back in. But now it's kind of dangerous, because TaeJa has taken this high ground, and he has a big, scary force again.
That was definitely a mistake. Even if he wants to run away with his ground forces, he could have gotten off another shot with the Tempest before retreating. An Oracle being built here.
Yeah, the Oracle, great synergy with those Tempests. The Revelation ability, giving them the ability to shoot at maximum range without actually sacrificing any of your units to reveal the enemy.
Yeah, that is going to be a suicide Oracle, though. If that gets close enough to those Vikings, one shot will be enough.
Oh yeah, but then the obnoxiousness of the Tempest at range for the next however many seconds, it makes it well worth it. That Oracle will die a hero.
161 and 171 supply for San, has a bit of a better bank now as well. And we still have that nuke, by the way, something that TaeJa has not used.
This has happened in every TVP, every long TVP he's played. He has made that nuke and then just never used it.
He's gonna go for that Mortal Kombat style. That is his finishing move. That
And
was
more
the
good.
cutest giggle that I ever heard from you, Princess.
Thank you. Well, I mean, I am a princess.
According to Reddit, you are.
Yes.
Oh, that storm is actually really
wow.
good. A high ground storm here against the army on the low ground. That did a lot of damage, and San is moving into the middle of the map, trying to get access to that planetary. The Vikings coming in, one Colossus at the front, the Tempest with the shots, a nice storm here. He needs a few more of those, though.
but he has no real anti-air except for the Tempests, and the Tempests are not duelists. They do not want to fight it. Oh, but more gigantic storms.
God, mother of storms. That did damage, and all the Vikings are gone. Only 6 alive. He could turn around and fight them, and now he has the Stalkers to do so. The Tempest alone will do enough damage, and with 6 High Templars still alive, another storm is not far away. If not for all of those ghosts that still use those snipes, and he is pretty good at sniping all of those High Templar. But San has a 60 supply lead now.
Yeah, those were game-ending storms. That push, I don't know if TaeJa was going to end it with that push, but as long as he pulled back or traded units well, then the game was still pretty even. It was still winnable for both of them, maybe an advantage for San. But after that, San now with 3.5 running bases to the 2-ish of TaeJa, and a big standing army advantage, up to an 80 supply lead.
Yeah, a 40-minute game so far, and Newkirk has been several times in this tournament the map where a comeback started. Ghost User versus Lucifer, 1 hour and 20 minutes. He made it happen, and San is on his way to victory on this map as well. Will he be able to start the comeback here in the finals at the ASUS ROG? He takes down the Planetary Fortress, moves in and takes it. 80 supply advantage. Another storm hits home as TaeJa tries to corner this army.
Harassment at the 6 o'clock base as this happens. And it looks like he's going to win both the battle and the harassment. All of the mules he just dropped, and that was the entirety of his income right now, and every single one of them just died.
The mules are gone, and all of the Vikings follow them. Another storm forces TaeJa back, and the Terran player GG's, and San takes victory #1, starting his comeback here at the ASUS ROG Finals in Helsinki.